Welcome back to another video. This is gonna be a quick, nothing too crazy, but found out two issues that we got on the GT500 since the last track day. I did discover what the issue was with the bypass valve, so I'll show that in a minute. And then on the way out of the track, just like a slap on the face because either A, I didn't stay for more runs, or who knows, but my alternator light came back on, or the check charging system light. I was a little irritated. I left, revved it, went away. I was like, sweet. Well, today I went to go ahead and change over the wheels and tires. As you can see, back to the street wheels and tires, so I wanted to drive it into work. And check charging system light was back. Plugged in my tuner and checked the voltage, and it was 10.8 volts. So obviously that's not good. So today I gotta go ahead and put the car up on jack stands, pull the alternator out. I'm gonna send it over to PA Performance, and they've been nice enough in the past to just throw a new voltage regulator in there, which is usually what burns out. Obviously there's something else, they'll check it, let me know, and replace it for me. So that's awesome. Not free of charge, of course. I think the last time it was about 40 bucks. But again, well reasonable, well less than another alternator. This is a 200 amp high output one. And we also have an extra cable, upgraded cable for charging and all that runs to the fuse box. So it is an upgraded system. It's not bone stock and absolutely terrible. Yeah, and then you have your upgraded additional cable in here. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure which of these are additional actually now that I think about it, but don't worry about it. Stuff's there. So we're good. But yeah, we got to go ahead and change out the alternator, or at least pull it off for now. And then my bypass, which you guys may or may not be able to see, is actually that guy right there. And if you follow this vacuum line, I have it hooked in right here. And I pulled it off and essentially stuck my vacuum brake bleeder to it, which holds vacuum. It looks like this right here. And you just pump it up and holds vacuum. You see me do this in a couple other things, and it would not. It would pump up a little bit and then instantly lose vacuum. So just to double check and see, well, maybe that's not necessarily it. It's been like that for a while. I thought it was normal. I think it was broken when I got it, to be honest, and installed it. Could also be the high idle issue. Vacuum leak right there. So I went ahead and took my air hose, set it super low at 15 PSI, and plugged it into where it would normally see boost right out of there, car off, of course, and just gave it a little pressure. And I could feel a massive amount of air coming out right from this guy. So when we pull it off later, I'll show you exactly what that looks like. But basically the bag has a hole in it. If I blocked off the line that goes to it, no more air leak. So that's pretty much confirms that. So what I think was happening. I don't think the bypass is closing all the way once everything gets, boost and everything. And this is a quick working theory. I don't know if this is gonna be for real until we actually test it out, but I have a suspicion that it could also be attributing to my higher IATs. On the old setup, my IATs were higher, but they never rose as quick as they do on this one. Even throughout a full quarter-mile pull, it wouldn't go up more than maybe 10 degrees. This raises a lot of degrees pretty quick. I think we went up from 98 to 129, which is almost 30-degree increase over the course of the pull. Granted, it could be more accurate than my gauge was in there previously, but it should be the same output. But I'm wondering if what's happening, the way the bypass works back here, again, I'll pull it off and show you guys later, but it kind of recirculates air throughout the blower without actually putting strain on the blower. And when it's trying to make all the boost, I'm wondering if it's sucking in some air that's already gone through the intercooler and now it's coming back up around and doing that circulative motion. So we're kind of recycling and also causing increased load and higher IATs. Just a thought, but we'll see what actually happens once I get this thing apart. So for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull out the alternator. It's nothing too crazy. We've got to pull off the intake just so we can get down to the top bolts and then jack the car up, and we got to get underneath, take the belt off, alternator out. Super easy. I don't have a sway bar in here, which is even easier, but I will run that through with you guys in a minute. So let's go to it. All right, spatter disconnected, intake is off. I did want to give an update. That catch can is working worlds time better than the old one. So JLT 3.0, good stuff, catches quite a bit of oil. Anyway, now down in here, this is our alternator right there. And we got to pull off these two top bolts from up here. And there's one more at the bottom that we got to get off. If you guys have seen other videos, I've done this before, nothing too revolutionary, but let's go ahead and get pulling it off. So I'm gonna pop out these two. And the thing is with these, once you pull them out, they can't actually come off. So when you reinstall it, you have to make sure to insert these first before sliding the alternator up in here, or you're not gonna get it out. So what I'm gonna do is undo them. They're just gonna rest against the body, and then we'll go underneath. Also, a little dark, but there's a pulley right in here. That is the idler. It's a 15. regular box wrench end, and then you're going to just go ahead and loosen that to get the accessory belt off the alternator. We also need to do that. All right, so you got the 2 bolts out. You can see that they are loose hanging right here. So again, they can't escape because the body's in the way. So now we're going to go underneath, bring our light with us, and go ahead and do that. I just got the belt off, and so this is nice and loose now. No worries. You can see it's just hanging out right here. So let's go ahead and get the alternator off from the underside now. Again, not a crazy process, pretty easy. I also forgot to mention it's all 15 millimeters so far. So tensioner is 15, and these 2 upper bolts are 15. The lower one's going to be a 15, and I think the outer nut is a 13 on the actual power wire, but we'll see when we get down there. All right, so underneath the car, and as you can see, power wire is right here. So nothing looks melted or anything crazy, so we're going to go ahead and just pop that off. And then we have our little connector right up in here, which I need a screwdriver to get that. And then our last bolt is this guy right here. So there's a bracket on the outside. I think this is that 13. Actually, I think it's a 10. These look like 10 millimeters. So 10 is going to come off, and then our 15, and then we can pull the whole alternator out. If you have a factory sway bar, it's going to run right in here, and it's going to be in your way. So do yourself a favor and unbolt that first. But we don't have one of those here, so let's go ahead and take this off. I also noticed, just looking at my water line, so it's getting pinched a little bit here, so I'm going to clearance that with a Dremel tool, just so I can have my lines run nice and freely. But without further ado, let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so alternator's off, as you can see, nothing too crazy. And something interesting, so this is the old pulley that they sent back with me. So you notice it's actually a larger diameter. Looking at it, you'll see right there. So this is supposed to help keep RPM down so it doesn't kill these things as fast. So I'm gonna request they put this one back on. And yeah, pretty much that's it. So she's off. I could a little bit of struggle, couldn't quite remember how I got it on and off last time. I had to go behind the power steering line, not in front of it, and it's good. So box this thing up, set it off, and that'll be that. All right, it's been a couple days later. Alternator sent off, and our new low vacuum bypass came in. It wasn't VMP this time around. Only real reason is cost. The VMP one is about $209 after it's all said and done, and the L&M one is going to be almost $300. It was like $270, $280 plus shipping and all that stuff. So I think the reason it's cheaper is just because the one from L&M, they probably don't, obviously they don't manufacture superchargers. So they probably have to buy the part at cost and then modify it, which is man hours, and then they resell it. Whereas VMP, I assume, is able to get these just manufactured, or if they are modified, they do it in-house. So let's go ahead and test it real quick, just make sure it's good, and then we'll go ahead and get it installed. To get it installed, unfortunately, this does suck. Pull out the supercharger, so I'm going to run through that in a time lapse for you guys. I believe pretty much everyone's already seen it in the past. But the sucky part is the EGR back here needs to get detached. So I'm going to do that. I usually just unbolt it from these 2 guys, one here and one here. It comes off, detach our vacuum lines, this guy, and then it's 4 bolts, 2 on either side for the fuel rails, and then the supercharger bolts. We're going to get everything out of the way, and then obviously this cross member has to come off. And then you can get the supercharger off, swap it out. We should be good. Let's go ahead and test this thing out, the vacuum gauge real quick, just to make sure she's good, although I'm quite confident it will be, and we'll be good to go. All right, no vacuum, and these cams only make about 8 to 10, I don't know, I guess vacuum things. I don't actually know what it's called, but yeah, there you go. We're at barely any, and you saw it actuate, so let it go. Holds perfectly, no issues. The other one would bleed down pretty quick, so, and then there we go. No vacuum, no problem. And just because I want to show you what this one looks like, so we have hooked up to the same port on there. You can see, if I really try, I can get it to hold some, and then it bleeds right back down. So obviously there's a vacuum leak in that thing. All right, so good amount of oil in here, which is a little weird. I did upgrade catch cans, but I didn't get a chance to clean it out in between. And I haven't driven it that much since the new one's been on, so that's a little interesting. Hopefully it's not anything too crazy to worry about. But my theory is, so you have the bypass on supercharger right here. So it's not closing all the way, which I did adjust it to make sure it could actually close all the way. But if it's not closing all the way and it's cracked open a little bit like that or whatever, essentially what's happening is supercharger naturally, whenever it's turning, it's going to push air through here. This side of letting it get sucked basically through here naturally, you're not going to have as much boost, or why I think potentially my IATs might be higher than normal. What it used to be on the old setup is it's possible that it was getting air pulled up through here by recirculating. So blow down boost here, and then it'll get sucked right back in through here and kind of circulate. I think that could have also been causing some IAT issues. So let me clean this up real quick. I'm a little bit irritated with the amount of oil in there. That's kind of not super cool. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up and then we'll be good to go. Let's talk about the bypass in a minute. All right, so to remove this, super easy. 2 bolts right here, and they are a 5mm, looks like. Yeah. So let's go ahead and pop these guys off and then we'll remove it. All right, it's just messing around with vacuum and trying to figure out where the thing is leaking from. So it's actually the very top of this thing, there's a seam, and it seems to be leaking out of there. So kind of want to mess around with it because I already bought it out of pocket. I can't return this thing, and I might see if I can pull this apart and reseal it. But for right now, we're gonna go ahead and put on the new one. I'm gonna do this off camera and mess around. I lied, that took like 2 seconds. So this thing is threaded into the top, and it looks like that's how they're able to get the original spring out. So I'm actually gonna see if I can't put some actual thread tape. They use like a thread goop on here. I'm gonna get some actual Teflon tape and see if I can't get this thing to seal properly. Would you look at that? So whenever you thread at the top of this thing, and holy crap, holds vacuum. Does not seem to lose any vacuum. So that does change things a little bit. I guess I have a spare now because, man, I don't know if I want to put this thing back on or not. I don't know, let me think about it. If I want to put this back on, just leave it, or put on the new one. We'll see what I decide. All right, well, I think we're gonna put it back on. I went ahead and tested it a couple more times, took it off one more time, and just re-Tefloned it one more time to make sure I got it extra good. Because last time I was just kind of messing around. And yeah, so check it out. First one just sucks it in. Now it's all the way in. Holds vacuum, doesn't suck. So yeah, there we go. So she's good. I'm gonna put it back on and run it. We'll go ahead and return the other one. It's a $200 part, so I guess worth, I mean, if it's that easy to fix, might as well just run it, right? So I'm gonna go and put it back on. We'll get rid of the VMP one, send it back, which kind of feel bad for wasting their time, but it is what it is, so go ahead and do that. But yeah, let's go and get this thing back assembled. Once this thing goes back together, I'm just gonna time lapse all the way through it. We just need to wait for the alternator, and then she'll be good to go. All right, so pretty much everything's back together except for the alternator, which of course is still out. And that's going to conclude this little bit. Still can't believe it was something that simple, just not sealing on the back piece. This is the new one. I did not realize that that was even an option, that came out. So I learn something new every day. But now that that's done, hopefully we don't have any more boost issues. Boost issues meaning I was expecting to see 18 PSI or so at the track. All I was seeing was 14, or about 15, 14 on the hit, 15 and 16 going down the track. So it should have been higher than that. So that's kind of what I think what the issue was. So between that and obviously it was a vacuum leak, hopefully that takes care of our high idle fresh start issue, which when we put it all back together, we're going to be right back in the boat and we'll be able to test it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and call it for now, and I'll see you guys when the alternator comes back and we'll install that guy. Alrighty guys, a couple days have gone by and things are looking up. Went ahead and finally put the carpet back in the trunk. I'll show you guys later. Over top of the ice tank, got it cleaned up back there, so it looks great. And then the alternator just came back, so I did ask them to put the bigger pulley back on, and it looks like they did. I don't feel anything clicking or being weird. I thought it might help it last a little longer with the slower RPM. So that's good, and there was actually quite a bit wrong. So it looks like they replaced the center section, and all these coils actually look new in here. From what else I can tell, new voltage meter. Seems to be, this all looks new. So we got a pretty decent rebuild. I want to read off exactly what was wrong with this thing, because yeah, she was pretty toast. All right, so they were nice enough to repair pretty much everything for free. All they did was charge shipping, and I'd ship it out there. So total for me came to about almost 70 bucks, I think, shipping there and back. But I found that the voltage regulator was not turning on, and the rotor was rubbing the inside of the stator. Replaced the regulator, stator, rotor, and rectifier, no charge. So huge shout out to PA Performance. Those guys have some really fast customer service. I sent it out on Monday and got it back. It's now Friday. So very awesome. And there we go. So we get this put back on the car and we'll go ahead and continue. I'm also doing some other maintenance. So recharging the air filter, it was pretty nasty. I'll show you some before pictures, and then I'm letting the oil dry in there before I put it all back together. Yeah, let's go ahead and toss the alternator back on and get everything back together. We should be good to go. I'm really curious to see how this thing starts up, finding if our vacuum leak fixed that little high idle issue. Hopefully it did. In all theory it should, so I guess we'll find out. Let's go ahead and throw the alternator back on. All right, belt's back on, alternator's back on, everything's tightened up, and looks like we're good to go. So I'm moving on to the top side, air filter back on, plug up a couple things, and I think she'll be good to go and ready to roll. So I was back on the ground, everything's cleaned up, hooked up the battery charger for a little bit just to make sure it's good. One of the things that does like to eat alternators is if your battery is constantly low, i.e. running heavy accessories with the car off or whatnot, can eat them up a little bit faster. So charge that up to make sure we're good. Air filter's nice and clean, it's looking great. Did not realize how dirty that was, it's pretty gross. Got our vacuum lines all sorted out, everything seems good there. And I want to show you guys the trunk area. So this is it with, sorry for the terrible lighting, but yeah, this is all is what I wound up putting back in here. So this came in here factory. I just needed to put some spacers to get everything to sit level. Looks kind of goofy, but it does work, and it kind of covers up everything nicely. Keeps everything good and out of the way. So I just think it looks cleaner, and on the giant ice tank just kind of sticking out, and you can actually use the truck if you need to. So I like that, a little more streetcar friendly. But let's go ahead and do the moment of what I'm waiting for. I'm gonna go ahead and crank it on, and hopefully it starts, idles down normal. If not, we still may have a vacuum leak, or might be something else going on, but at least our bypass is good to go now. All right, that was weird. I swear this front header was glowing a little red. Whatever goes right to this cylinder. So, a lot of heat. That's not good. I don't know what the hell happened there. We'll diagnose it. You're gonna have to pull the spark plug, check that out. What the actual crap is going on with that? Very weird. Usually that happens when there's too much heat from running lean. Couldn't imagine why just that cylinder would be running lean. Yeah, let's go check that out. All right, so I'm gonna try and talk over this, but went ahead and did the math for the reset real quick. And sorry, so I went ahead and did the cam reset, and it seems to be running idling fine. Nothing looking weird, but that header right there, you guys can't see it. Maybe you can, but definitely had a red hint to it. So that means, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure that means it's running super lean and hot. So that's really weird. But other than that, charging normal. Checked out fuel trims, so they seem to be fine. Battery voltage is normal. So I think we're good. Alternator wise, I know we're good. But that was very, very weird. I'm not sure what's up with that. Sounds good though. You know. All right. All right, so I spent some time trying to troubleshoot a little bit. Went ahead and hit all the injector. So I guess let me run down quick what I think there could be a potential issue. So what's really weird to me is that once I do the cam reset, everything seems fine. That's why I'm like, it's not a consistent issue. Something has to get learned with the ECU, and then it figures out idle, everything's fine, it cools off, no like strangeness, all the IATs look normal, all the fuel trims look normal. I've sent logs off to my tuner in the past, or a log anyway, while I was doing the issue, and he said the tune and everything and the logs look normal. So that's what's like really frustrating about this. But I was hoping a little vacuum leak might fix it. Evidently it did not. So either we still have a massive vacuum leak somewhere, or something else is going on. But I did, off camera, hit all the holes along the injector lines with carb cleaner. My thought process is maybe that one of the O-rings on the injectors isn't sealing well, and letting air in maybe. Didn't change anything, did it on both sides. Hit all the little vacuum line connections, didn't change anything. I had my tuner up here, the actual device, looking at RPM so I could see anything raise or fluctuate. Didn't notice anything weird there. Checked all my connections, everything seems fine. At this point, I really don't know. I'm not sure what could be causing it, so if you guys have any input, let me know in the comments down below. It's very frustrating. Other than that though, once the car learns it's idle, basically by doing a cam reset, everything is perfect. Never have any issues. I go to the track, you see me beat on the car, everything looks great in the logs. Obviously we don't have any super lean spikes, the idles look good, like there's nothing screwy going on, which is why it's so frustrating that, like, why would there be something weird on that initial cold start and then everything's fine? Mechanically it seems so inconsistent. The only other thing I can think of is maybe something with the throttle body, but honestly I just don't know. So that's pretty much that. I have probed my throttle sensor right here just to make sure everything looked Gucci in terms, or just to make sure everything was within spec and voltage, and that all checked out fine. So I'm not sure, guys, really don't know. Very odd issue. But once again, other than that, everything on the car seems fine now. I need to take it out at some point. I'm gonna wait. I sent an email off to the tuner again just to see if there's anything he has thought of or can think of that might be causing this. But we have the 2.6 pulley on here, and I do want to take it out and test and see what our 60 to 130 time is. Now the bypass is good to go and closing properly, and kind of see where that leads. But other than that, I think that's really about everything. So I appreciate you guys watching. You got to hear little cam sounds, and then other than that, I think everything's pretty much it. I don't really have anything crazy going on. Next big thing with the car at some point is probably going to be doing the trans, but again, I'm not in a huge rush with that. It's a big undertaking, and I'm not, right now the car works and drives, so I'm not really in a huge rush to do that. But without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and take it easy.